Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Rogers. I'm the president-elect of NANP for 2020, and I'm so excited to have you listen in on our recording today, and absolutely thrilled to introduce you to Dr. Tieraona Low Dog. I have been hoping as a member of NANP for a while that we would get her here to talk with all of you, and this is the year. So I know she's going to be a fascinating speaker for all of you, and she will actually be our keynote speaker at the end of the conference, which is a wonderful place for her to be because I know we'll have everyone's undivided attention. Her topic is amazing, which is micronutrient deficiencies across the lifespan. So Dr. Low Dog, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so looking forward to the conference.
We're going to keep you very busy, I'm sure. I mean, reading your background is just phenomenal. I can't even possibly go over all of it. I would encourage our the people looking at your website or considering coming to our conference to please read about Dr. Low Dog's background online. But you know, it's safe to say that, and it says right here, that you're recognized as one of the leading experts in integrative medicine, particularly in the area of women's health. And as I mentioned, the topic is going to be extremely important to our viewers. What I wanted to ask you, though, to start is a lot of our members, actually a large majority of our members, actually get into the area of holistic nutrition through some personal crisis or that of an immediate loved one. Your background, you started and felt very drawn to this area, it reads, early on as a child. Was there a particular event that happened, or what drove you into the area of medicine that you're now in?
I don't remember a triggering sort of event. I do know that since I was very small, I've had a deep and profound love of nature, and found myself, wanting to go camping and wanting to go hiking. And my grandparents owned a sporting goods store, and they would take us out all the time to go out into nature. I was in a Girl Scouts. I mean, for me, I just couldn't get enough of nature. And maybe a small piece of that was because I stuttered very badly as a young child, and I had dyslexia. And so school sometimes was a little tough, but nature was all embracing for me. And from nature came a deep passion for healing, for the plants. I love botanicals. I love plant medicine. I love plant-based diets. I mean, so it all sort of sprang from there. And I studied herbal medicine, midwifery. I went to massage school, and later became a physician. So becoming a physician was really much further on in my career. I'd already sort of developed the core essence of who I was, and then adding on the medical degree only enhanced that. But I wasn't young when I went to medical school, and I do think that made a difference for me because I was pretty well formed. I'd already seen many people as patients or clients in Las Cruces, New Mexico. I had an herb company. I was providing care for people, doing massage. So I think that I've always intrinsically felt how holism is manifested in nature and how it needs to manifest itself in this ecosystem that we call human life or humanity. So I don't remember a time it wasn't there, though.
Excellent. Well, that is so important for our members and for the people that they work with. You know, many of them are in a private practice where they are working with individuals, and I think that is probably a growing mindset that we've learned from people like you, quite frankly, and we are reading books from, such as yours, that are teaching us that same mindset. So, we're so fortunate that happened to you at such an early age, and you're bringing that to all of us. I
actually do think many people feel that. They feel this deep connection, and sometimes they may actually feel like they're a fish out of water, or they're, a round peg trying to go into a square hole. And I have encountered this much in my career as younger people come and ask me, about my career and have questions about their own. I imagine that they're a large number of your members who have probably felt this deep connection and this resonance with holism for many, many years of their life, and now have found a structure for that within your group. They found a community, a tribe, a structure. But I do feel like it's out there, and I've always felt it out there. It's just 40 years ago, there were fewer organizations that really provided space and gave form to that sort of feeling. So just for those that may be listening that are a member of your group, you may be ahead of the curve, right? This is where medicine is going. This is where nutrition is going. This is where we're all heading. You just may have been a little early. That's all.
Well, I think you're exactly right. And NANP, to that point, actually has been around for a long, long time. But in just recent years, we're really seeing a surge in both membership and just the whole gamut. So you're exactly right. And that leads us to your topic, which is really going to be fundamental to the people in our audience and to our membership. Can you tell us a little bit more about your topic and why you think it's going to be important to your audience with us?
Yes, well, I actually, when you sit with people every day and you get their dietary intake and history, you see that there's huge gaps for many people, that they either have, done away with an entire food group, they're trying to lose weight, they're on certain medications, they may be at a certain life stage, and that many of them are falling short in a micronutrient perspective, meaning that they're not getting enough vitamins, minerals, essential amino acids, etc. And I think it's really key for people who are working with folks that are trying to improve their diet that we're very aware that micronutrient deficiencies can contribute to cardiovascular disease, to stroke, to eye disease, to impaired immunity, to depression, anxiety, poor cognitive function. It manifests in so many ways. We typically think about life stages as micronutrient needs in pregnancy, which are very real. They're very real, but that's not the only place that it's really important. And so I really want to take people through life stages. What are the unique needs of children, and where are we falling short? And what is this choline that nobody was even talking about 10 years ago? And is lutein really that important in pregnancy and early childhood? And so really trying to give some texture to what are the foods that are rich in these nutrients, and when should we consider supplementation? And if somebody's taking supplements, what's the correct range or correct type for them to be in? So I think this is obviously, I think this is a very important topic. I went and spoke in Washington, D.C. For the Congress, because we haven't updated our prenatal vitamin recommendations in more than 20 years. We still have many children that have nutrient deficits. Our aging population, which we're all a part of, we're all getting older, but our elders in particular are really struggling with poor nutrition and significant nutrient deficits. So it's an important talk. I did a whole National Geographic Fortify Your Life book on this topic, trying to really help people empower themselves and use this information to take it to their nutritionist or their physician or their naturopath to be able to work together and partner together to improve their nutrition. I have to tell you, I don't understand really what's going on, but there are so many news pieces coming out on how people don't need vitamins, they don't need omega-3s, they don't need to do this, they don't need to do that, processed meat's fine. It just goes on and on and on. And I think that it's very confusing for the average person. So I want to present really the science. Where are we with the science? Not wishful thinking, but what does actually the science say when we look at it? And how can your nutritionist really your members leave that day with real information that they can act upon, and resources for which they can go and learn more about this if this is something that they want to pursue.
And all of that is just so critical, particularly your comment about getting to the actual science of it, because that's what we run up against as practitioners. Is we run up against the customer, the individual. We can see what they need and the help and guidance that they may need, but we're getting this pushback because they are hearing all that contradictory information. So having that science in the background is going to be so critical. Yeah.
Right. I do think it's important to remember that large prospective or epidemiologic studies give you a macro picture of a large swath of people. But as clinicians, we're taking care of individuals. So public health recommendations are for the masses, but we don't treat the masses, we treat individuals. And so we have the luxury of being able to get a much more detailed dietary intake, habits, lifestyle, which gives us key insights that you just can't get from looking at public health recommendations. And public health recommendations need a lot of science to make them change anything. I mean, look how long it took for us to even say folic acid was important for reducing the risk of neural tube defects. It took decades. So your folks they've got to, as I used to tell the medical students, I'm like, if you're trying to go into something where the science is solid and unrefutable, you should have gone into physics, not gone into medicine, or not gone into nutrition, because the science is constantly changing and evolving, and you have to stay on top of the science. You do. Every member of yours needs to stay up on the science, and I'm going to give you a lot of good science and resources. But you have to remember that you're treating an individual. You're not making public health recommendations for 350 million people. You have an N of one. You have one person and one family you're taking care of. And those large recommendations that are made for an entire heterogeneous population is not the same as what you're going to do for that individual. So you got to kind of tease that out. It's really important. I had a friend, Freddie Cronenberg, who was going to do a study on black cohosh, and she only needed 80 women for the study. She was at Columbia University, and they interviewed more than 1,900 women to get their 80. I always told Freddie we should write a paper on that. I said, because as a clinician, I'm seeing your 1,820 women who were not eligible to be in your trial. They're my patients. So your 80 women that you got really do not represent the women coming to me every day. So I think it's just a lot of times we don't think deeply enough about how our science is conducted, how it's being done, and what our public health recommendations are versus what we are going to do individually. So just kind of keep some of those things in mind when you're dealing with people in the evidence. And last but not least, I don't ever argue with patients about their beliefs. I'm like, well, that sounds like you've thought a lot about that. Tell me more. And so it's a way of coming alongside somebody instead of trying to argue that you're right and they're wrong. That's very much the way it often works in conventional medicine, and I hope it's not working that way in your listeners' offices. But it's really, well, tell me more. Tell me what would be hard about giving this up, or tell me where you've come into your stumbling blocks, or, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your diet? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think you're going to be able to make a change? All of these things get you into that behavioral space and helping to understand how and why does the person that's sitting in front of you believe what they believe, and how do you work within that framework? And those are the effective clinicians. Clinicians that can do that are highly effective and are the best at helping people make changes, because you're not telling them they're wrong, you're just trying to understand. And then from that understanding, you can begin to make the suggestions that in partnering with them, they feel like they're going to be able to make. Diet is something that's really personal, and my own experience is that it's emotional, it's personal, it's cultural, it's societal, it's socioeconomic, it's what you like, don't like. And so you really do have to expect to have a longer term relationship with somebody. If you're really going to affect their diet, you're going to have to commit, and they're going to have to commit to working with you over a number of months, because change doesn't happen overnight.
Wow. Well, it will be so clear to our members if they watch this video that they have to come to our conference, because this could very well end up being one of the most informative and helpful sessions that they're going to have. You're worth the whole conference right there.
Well, thank you.
I just can't thank you enough, Dr. Low Dog, for being with us and sharing some insight and helping to get our viewers interested. Really looking forward to meeting you in early May at the conference. And thank you again
You
for
too.
joining us, and we'll be talking to you real soon.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.